Welcome to the Mercury's Google Chat. I'm Diane Hoffman. Here with me today is editor Nancy March. We also have reporter Brandie Kessler, Coleen Watchorn, whose son Stephen, both of them were talked about in the first day of the series that ran this week. And we have Carl Hessler. He's our court reporter. Carl, can you say hello?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Carl. So today we're going to talk about our series called Heroin, Fatal Addiction. It was a 4-day series that ran in the Mercury starting Sunday through Wednesday, and it talked about heroin use in the suburbs, in the Pottstown area in particular. Coleen, could you talk to us about some of the reaction that you got of the series this week?
Kathy and I were both really surprised and very pleased at the number of people that reached out to us. We're just hoping that it continues.
Could you give us, for people who may have missed the story, do you want to give us a brief description of your son?
My son, Stephen, was 28 years old when he passed away. My son loved music. My son loved his cat. My son loved his family. He struggled for a long time. He was a wonderful, wonderful kid.
Brandie was a reporter here at the Mercury, is now working at the York Daily Record. During the series, have you gotten a lot of feedback?
Most reporters would agree that they usually get feedback from people when readers don't like something they have to write about, that they wrote about. It's not as common to get feedback from people who are congratulating you on a job well done or thanking you for bringing something important to light. People don't usually reach out in those sorts of circumstances. I have gotten some feedback from readers who are just grateful that the Mercury chose to sort of tackle this pretty heavy topic. The emails that I've gotten from people have also just been expressing a great amount of gratitude to Coleen and Kathy for being so brave in sharing their stories. And a lot of people are saying that, that this is something that we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about more. And for me personally, that's been really gratifying because one thing a reporter can't, give their interviewees is the confidence that they're doing the right thing. We hope they are. When I talk with Coleen and Kathy, I was really hopeful that readers would receive what they were saying well. But we can't make a promise to them. And so getting the feedback that I've gotten from people has really reassured me. And I think we've been passing those messages along to Kathy and Coleen that they're not being judged. Their families aren't being judged. Their sons aren't being judged. Rather, the feedback has been that these are stories that need to be told because they're going to happen. They're happening, even if they aren't being told. These two women were just brave enough to talk to us about it, so that could start a conversation amongst other people.
I reached out to Kathy because I knew that family. This whole started with me sending her an email that was titled "A Difficult Question," and I asked her if she would be willing to share the story of her son's addiction and the loss of her son if we built a series around it. The point from the beginning was exactly what we're all talking about, to try and start this conversation, to try and let people know that this is a real problem in our community, and it has a stigma attached to it. People aren't talking about it. So we wanted to try and raise that conversation and have people talking about it, and perhaps get to the level of prevention and trying to show how devastating heroin addiction can be, how it can start with pills, and how young kids and families with young kids need to be aware of it and try to stop it before it gets started. So when Kathy said that she would talk to her friend Coleen and the two of them might come in and talk to us, that's really what started the whole series. And I echo what Brandie says. This whole thing hinged on their courage to tell their story and everything else came from there. I also wanted to echo a little bit about what they've been saying about the response. It has been unbelievable to me, the emails, the calls, the things I have heard about how positive the response has been to this. And it's very gratifying. Carl actually has a story about a possible prevention that this series already accomplished.
Yes, this morning I ran into a woman who works for Montgomery County, and she told me that her family was reading the entire series, and they were touched by the series. She has a relative, a young man who's going through addiction right now and who's been battling it for several years. The family sat down with him. He read the entire series, and last night he decided he was going back into rehab. And so the family expressed their gratitude to the Mercury for doing this series, and they were very, very pleased that, you know, at least for their family, something very positive came of it.
How did writing this series make you feel?
I think I learned a lot more about addiction than I had already known. Being in and out of the courts every day, watching the endless number of people coming in and pleading guilty to drug-related crimes, I thought I knew what, about addiction, but I learned so much more by talking to people about the struggles that people go through, that kind of aspect of addiction. There was one thing that an assistant drug and alcohol administrator for Montgomery County talked to me about, and she wanted to stress that she hoped this series would take away the stigma that's associated with heroin addiction. And she said something, that still sticks in my mind today. She said it's not just the poor or the impoverished individuals who struggle with this disease. People aren't born with the goal of growing up and becoming a drug addict. That these are the people who are your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, and your children.
Brandie, how about you?
I think it was overwhelming. When this story is big. It has a potential to influence your readers. You're also, you want the people who you're talking to trust you, and then you want to do a better than good job after they've trusted you and they share their story with you. And I think that, it was kind of scary as I'm writing it and I'm talking to these mothers who, love their sons, and love wasn't enough. It was overwhelming to have that task, and really also honored, I guess, that they trusted us. They trusted that we would, that we would do good things with their words, that they could trust us. And now that it's been published and they're getting good feedback, it feels really good. It's wonderful that people are talking about it. Not just saying, oh, isn't this a wonderful series, but just that they're talking about it and saying, this is important, and that conversation will hopefully generate the change that Kathy and Coleen want to see happening.
And we can't emphasize enough the importance of people coming forward and letting us use their real names and letting us videotape them and use their faces. Coleen and Kathy were shy about this in the beginning, but they were amazingly courageous as it unfolded. The same with Nikki Golden, the young woman that Carl interviewed who is a recovering addict. She shared her story, she let us take pictures, she used her name, and that makes such a difference. When you read these kinds of stories in other publications, they frequently are parents who do not want their names to be used, recovering addicts who do not want their names to be used or their pictures to be taken. It isn't as real. Ours was so much more real, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are responding the way they are. They're seeing real people, people who could be their neighbors or their sisters or their brothers or their parents in these stories. That makes all the difference in the world. And it was their courage that made this happen.
Coleen, your courage that everybody keeps talking about actually we influenced some people. We were contacted by a woman named Diane, whose son Tyler passed away in December from heroin. And she couldn't be part of this, but she did want me to read some messages that she wanted to send to people. One message she wrote were to parents of people struggling with heroin addiction. She says, don't get angry. It fuels the disease and hurts your loved ones. Stand for them and against the disease. Love your loved ones, but don't enable the disease. It's a fine line, but one that can be walked for your sake and your loved one's sake. Coleen, can you talk about that?
You know, it's when your child starts out with an addiction, and Stephen's addiction was to prescribed pills. You don't get angry at first, and then when you see their personalities and you know, all the different things that happen throughout your family, you know, then you get angry and then you go back and you say, you know, what can I do? And you know, now that both Stephen and Trevor are gone, we are committed to what can we do. Not that we feel like we didn't do enough, because there was nothing else that we knew we could do to save our boys, but you know, we just want to make sure that we find out that there is more that can be done.
Well, I want to thank everyone, Brandie, Carl, Coleen, Nancy, and everybody else involved in the series for being so brave and helping a lot of people. I think that it's touched the lives of a lot of people, this series, and it will continue as long as we keep it on the forefront. Brandie or Carl, would either one of you like to say anything before we go?
Well, I think that people should know that there is help out there, and if somebody questions, you know, or thinks that they can't get help, they need to reach out. There are many agencies out there who are offering help, and you can call the Montgomery County Office of Drug and Alcohol, and they can refer you to the proper agencies to get help. But I think that's one of the main things I think that should be stressed, is that there is help out there, and there are people who have beat these addictions. And so I would urge, you know, people out there who are maybe facing this to not give up and seriously commit to getting help.
Brandie, any final words?
I just want to thank anybody who's given us feedback, you know, good, bad, otherwise. I haven't heard anything negative, but you know, if anybody has any thoughts, opinions, any resources that they want to share, you know, to our email addresses are on those articles. Get in touch with us. And for the most part, anytime somebody sent us a message so far and asked us to pass the word along to Kathy or Coleen or, you know, anyone else, you know, who they intended that message for, we've been trying to do that. And I think, you know, the purpose, I don't know, I think for us doing this was to bring attention to an issue that we thought, you know, people needed to know about. And wouldn't it be great if there could be some sort of change or something positive that comes out of that? Please just continue to give us feedback and share your resources, share your thoughts, and maybe change will come about.
The entire Heroin series can be found on our website at potsmerk.com and can also be found on our Heroin Fatal Addiction blog, and it's at Potsmerk Heroin Series at blogspot.com. There you can find each day's stories, all grouped together, as well as resources for anybody looking for help with this disease, whether it's for themselves or for a loved one. Thank you again, everybody, for showing up. If anybody out there has any questions, you can contact editor Nancy March at nmarch@potsmerk.com. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody.